moon is glowing. So you can feel yourself part of these guys. An army going far away. The wind keeps blowing. They're far away from the home. You cannot go back. But so last time we read Ezra translation of a Chinese poem. I thought it would be quite logical to have a look at Ezra poetry. So this one again is kind of Chinese thing. He did not write exclusively about China. He has lots of quite witty poems, but they're either really short or quite long. That one is just about the right size. So let's have a look at it. So it is a song of the Bowmen of Shu. Let's read it. Here we are, picking the first fern shoots, and saying, when shall we get back to our country? Here we are, because we have the kenning for our foemen. We have no comfort because of these Mongols. We grab the soft fern shoots. When anyone says return, the others are full of sorrow. Sorrowful mind, sorrow is strong. We are hungry and thirsty. Our defense is not yet made sure. No one can let his friend return. We grab the old fern stalks. We say, will we be let to go back in October? There is no ease in royal affairs. We have no comfort. Our sorrow is bitter, but we would not return to our country. What flower has come into blossom? Whose chariot? The general's. Horses, his horses even, are tired. They were strong. They have no rest. 3 battles a month. By heaven, his horses are tired. The generals are on them. The soldiers are by them. The horses are well trained. The generals have ivory arrows and quivers ornamented with fish skin. The enemy is swift. We must be careful. When we set out, the wheels were drooping with spring. We come back in the snow, we go slowly, we are hungry and thirsty. Our mind is full of sorrow. Who will know of our grief? Maybe it is a bit noisy.
Oh, yes, it does.
Maybe we should ask them to do something about it. I don't really want to shout all the time. So here we are, setting on a journey with the wind
Shall I
blowing.
stop it?
Yeah, just stop it. Phew, so again.
Shall we read it again?
Oh, let's just. Here we are, picking the first fern shoots and saying, when shall we get back to our country? Here we are, because we have the kenning over foemen. We have no comfort because of these Mongols. We grab the soft fern shoots. But anyone says, return, the others are full of sorrow. Soulful minds, the sorrow is strong. We are hungry and thirsty. Our defense is not yet made sure. No one can let his friend return. We grab the old fern stalks. We say, will we be let go back in October? There is no ease in royal affairs. We have no comfort. Our sorrow is bitter, but we would not return to our country. What flower has come into blossom? Whose chariot? The general's. Horses, his horses even, tired. They were strong. We have no rest. 3 battles a month. By heaven, his horses are tired. The generals are on them. The soldiers are by them. The horses are well trained. The generals have ivory arrows and quivers ornamented with fish skin. The enemy is swift. we must be careful. When we set out, the wheels will droop in the spring. We come back in the snow. We go slowly. We are hungry and thirsty. Our mind is full of sorrow. Who will know our grief? So, what do you feel about it?
Interesting. Historic.
In what way?
In a way, it doesn't resemble anything that you would possibly expect by looking out of the window to a busy street in Moscow. Both the scene and the wording are somehow not the words we expect to hear today, not the sights we expect to see today. And in the question of
unusual.
well,
Any specific things that you can point out here?
well, in the question of style, the way words are chosen and combined, it possibly reminds me of some epic poems I might try and remember, or of.
Okay, does it sound like a poem then?
It doesn't really sound like a poem in the sense something written in the 19th century or something written in the 20th century were poems. It sounds like something which is on the verge of a story, a novel story being told by someone who was in the battle, who was retelling the story to a dozen of listeners. But
what happens is we have our traditions. We have the European traditions of poetry, of poesy, and then we have our traditions, which might be different. So when you unite the two, you get a fresh result. You use a style which does not normally belong to your culture.
So, as you say, it's not this time. We are not looking at a translation. It's something original, something that...
So does it sound like it's a line-to-line translation? Like somebody wrote a poem in another language and Ezra here is just translating it word to word?
Well, it's not word by word, because very often, as you translate word by word, it becomes incomprehensible.
Line by line.
But if you translate it line by line, then yes, I would say yes. So it looks like a very close translation.
Lines, we have short lines. Yeah, they sound like prose. They don't rhyme. They don't have any specific pattern. Do they?
And yet, there's a rhythm in this whole piece.
So, first of all, as we start, what we look at is the name. Before we even start reading the poem, we look at the list. What are we going to read today? What am I going to read today? And then you see the title. So it says Song of the Bowmen Should. What does it tell you? Why Bowmen? Why should? Why song?
Let's begin with the song.
Does it sound like a song?
It might be a song. It might be a song, again, not in the way things sung today are songs, but it might be a piece of something that is recited in a musical way.
So what is a song? What is a song here? Because we have like a Rudyard Kipling writing a song of a Roman soldier. Now we have the song of the Bowmen of Shu here. Is it a song in the musical sense, or is it a song in some other sense?
Well, it is a song in a poetical sense.
Which is?
Which is, if you want to hear it, you are well advised to recite it to a certain kind of music, the music you
Maybe
produce.
it's not about music. Maybe a song means something that comes directly from soul, directly from heart. In which case it's not a musical song, but the song of your vibration. The way you vibrate, the way you feel, the way you be, produces that way, which is a song. Maybe that's what their heart says, something that is true to their heart. Now, why Bowmen and why Shu? So why Bowmen?
Well, Bowmen.
Why not soldiers of Shu?
Soldiers imply something which is again completely to date. There are soldiers.
Okay, so what's the difference between saying soldiers and Bowmen?
Bowmen at least sounds much older. It sounds
Do you use
as
both?
yes. It sounds like it's a piece of history, and it's a piece of war history. Well, war history, if history is a good word here. That more or less is also a work of art, because history is normally a work of art. Is a work of art. When you say soldiers, you might basically mean the same thing, but
faceless.
it's
Maybe
faceless.
soldiers
And again, soldiers, when I
can be at any time.
can be at any time, and
Any
again, World War
place.
II soldiers, World War I soldiers.
Then
Things today,
maybe soldiers are a bit more simple than Bowmen. Bowmen are a special division.
Yeah.
Maybe. Maybe you have bow and bow.
Yeah.
Bowing. Maybe. Now Shu. Song of the Bowmen of Shu. What's Shu?
Again,
Do you know anything about Shu?
again, to someone who knows everything about China, to someone who's Ezra Pond, it probably tells something. To someone who doesn't know anything, it doesn't tell anything.
So an average reader, would he know about Shu? No. So why say Shu? If say Shu, what's Shu? Shoes? Because it's like Shu is a small place. We have different kingdoms of Shu, but they're all small places that did not last long. And in general, it's a song of people who come from a small place that we do not know about, that is long gone. So why is it important? Why do we listen to a song of people long gone, from a kingdom long gone? A tiny little kingdom that did not really leave any much trace. Not only in big history, but even in local history. Why do we look at it?
That's the question we might be asking ourselves. If we started it, if this is the poem that somehow attracted our attention, there's probably a mystery. A mystery both in why it is a song and not really
Yeah,
both
so why should? That's the question we look at now. So if you're a poet and you think about the title, so why do you put a specific name that nobody really knows about in your poem? So considering that he obviously knew a lot about China, it was telling him something. But for us as readers, we don't have to be educated in all Chinese kingdoms. So why specify? Why not Song of the Bowmen Why not song of the Chinese Bowmen, ancient Bowmen? Why specify
Because
should?
they are very, very, they are people of flesh and blood to him. They are very concrete people to him. They are not just some soldiers. They are not just some bowmen. They are
They have a name.
They have, yes, and he can easily visualize them.
Well, that we do not know. And again, it's not him who reads it, it's us who read it.
Isn't it then an invitation to us to try and imagine what's happening in the
To try and
poet's
study
mind?
Chinese history.
What's happening in poet's mind? It's
That's
you
what I'm
get the
asking you.
title. You get the title. You look at it.
Maybe
And
it's to make it look more ancient. Like you have songs from that place, song of that place. So a song of the Bowmen of Shu implies that he creates a connection with ancient songs, real ancient songs, if you believe in antiquity. Do you believe in antiquity? Does anyone believe in antiquity these days? I'm not sure. Well, so
How
as
can
you
you
look at the
disbelieve
title,
antiquity?
wow,
all
there
around
are
you.
lots of people who will tell you it's all fake, that it was invented like a century ago. So I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but it's an interesting idea. Because what we take it for granted, like more of it, most of it. What do we really know? What can we really prove? Maybe not so much.
Well, they
Ah,
probably
mysteries.
can't.
Something?
No, I'm just saying they probably can't. They can't prove anything.
Well, anyway, Song of the Bowmen of Shu gets you in a kind of a lyrical mood. Because you have song and you have antiquity, some ancient times, Shu, something exotic. So ancient, exotic, romantic, lyrical. We like
and
these
again,
things.
if you, not me, if you are a poetry lover, then one of the attractions might be to find out something romantic, something olden, something that doesn't really ring a bell. Somebody says shoe and it doesn't ring a bell. Then,
Well, it sort of
that's
does.
interesting.
It sort of does. Well, anyway, maybe it also says that you don't have to be from a big place to have a story. Everyone has their own story. And not just famous people, but small people, so-called small people. There's no one who is a small person. We all participate in this universe. And maybe that's why. Maybe. It's kind of dissolving the borders. We don't know anymore what is modern, contemporary, and what is ancient. We don't know anymore what is local and what is exotic. We don't know anymore what is famous and what is small and not well known. In this poem, it doesn't matter. So let's look at the poem itself then.
Okay.
Anything that catches the eye as you read it. I guess it starts with the very first line. Here we are picking the first fern shoots. Because is that a usual thing to do? Pick fern shoots. Here we are picking the first fern shoots. So why fern shoots? Why do they pick them? Why would anyone want to pick fern shoots? Okay, do you know fern? The plant? Okay, so that's a plant. Fern shoots. So the first gentle shoots of the plant. Maybe they're going to eat it. Here we are picking the first fern shoots. Of course, it sounds very soft. First fern shoots. But even here, there's a kind of danger. Because we have Bowmen, and now we have the word shoot.
Yeah.
Fern shoots. Which implies, apparently, first of all, we. Here we are. Part of the army on the move. begin the first friendship. We don't know what's going to happen next.
Is it when you say here we are? Is it because here we are and you are not with us? Or is it because here we are? Come,
Here we are.
come, here we are. Here we all
Well,
are. Are we now
Bowmen.
are we part of the picture? When I say, or is it the
Here
wall?
we are.
Here we
We
are.
are
We
together.
are here. You are not here.
We means we are all here. Here we are. It's like we show the position.
Yeah, but
We
is
fix
it
ourselves on the
yes,
map.
is it an invitation to the reader?
How do
is the
you
reader,
read it?
Is the reader with us now? Here we are.
If you say we,
Meaning
inclusive.
inclusive, or we, that's us. And
Well,
that's
you originate, so you're inside it already. So we means you too. But of course it's sort of unusual because normally we say I or he, she. We is much more rare. So that's something collective. It's not personal, it's collective. So it's something that transcends personal experience. It's transpersonal. Here we are, picking the first friendship. What happens to one person happens to everyone. Saying we're going back to John Donne with his bell. Here we are picking the first friendships. So picking is a kind of easy, careless, picking up some plants, picking up grass, and saying, when shall we get back to our country? So that second line changes it all. The first could be relaxed.
Yeah, and again, here we are. Sometimes.
Oh, here we are.
Yeah, here we are. Sometimes means something relaxing and even entertaining. And here we are.
And then saying, when shall we get back to our country? So we have that idea of being in a foreign land, wanting to come back home to a home country. And we don't know when or how it may happen. And that's something very, very deep in every person, I guess. We all feel like, when shall we get back to our country? What is our country?
Isn't it also a line that keeps repeating in poetry?
Yeah.
Beginning maybe with the Psalms or something. In a foreign country there we were, and they asked us sing your songs to us or something like that.
So that's this more or less eternal subject of feeling being an alien and knowing that you belong to some other place and longing for home. So that's the motor of story, being an alien and knowing that you do not belong but having a mission. When shall we get back to our country? Here we are. So we repeat the word. Here we are in the future. Here we are because we have the cannon for our foemen.
Oh, that's fine.
Oh, that's why. So the second time we read, here we are. We elaborate the idea. Here we are, and now, second time we read it, we know that here is not home. Here is somewhere. Here we are because we have the cannon for foemen. Now, what's the cannon? Do we know? Have any idea? No. No. So, on one hand, I suppose that's supporting that exotic subject. Shoe, cannon. So we can feel it. We can feel it. It's not just some Englishman pretending to be Chinese warrior. No, they know their words. The cannon for a foeman. So as we begin reading, if we don't know the title, or if we don't think much about the title, then here we are picking the first furnitures. That's quite tranquil. Then saying, when shall we get back to our country? So that's a bit disturbing, but still, we don't know why. Maybe they're on a Sunday ride. Maybe they have a picnic in another country. We don't know why. Maybe they're in an exile. We don't know. But now we know. Because we have the cannon for a foeman. Because we have an enemy. And we need to fix it first. So we have bowman, now we have foeman. He could say we have a cannon for our enemies. He doesn't say it. He chooses a really strange word, foeman. Normally you just say foe.
Yeah, or enemy.
Enemy. A foeman as opposed to bowman. Foeman, bowman. Foeman, bowman. They sound much the same, which again begs the question if whether there's a really big difference between them. Foeman and bowman. Is it the two sides of the same biscuit? Yeah. For our foeman, and of course a foeman has a f sound, which connects with first fern shoots, which, as we will see, refers to themselves.
As you read it, is it only me who, reading it for the first time, thinks, oh, probably he meant 4 men, meaning 4 men. And
four,
there's
like not 3?
Four meaning before, 4 men, 4 men. The man who stands in the 4, who stands before the rest, who stands at the head.
No, it wouldn't make any sense, really.
It wouldn't make any sense. Okay, so it's we have the king name. That's the name for our 4 men. He's our leader. So that doesn't make any sense.
No. It doesn't make any sense because of the next line. So yeah, we have more for our 4 men. Now we have no comfort because of these Mongols.
Yeah.
Because if you use a strange word in your poem to spice it a bit, then you do need to explain it. Maybe you don't have to explain it straight away, but at least give a hint. So as we read it, and we have no cannon. What's cannon? I know canine, like dogs. Cannon. What's cannon? So he needs to explain these Mongols. Mongols, we know Mongols. Okay.
Yeah, and again, it adds to the feeling something exotic is happening.
Do we have many poems about Mongols?
We don't have many poems about Mongols. That's one thing, and the other thing is we know quite a lot about the Mongols, about all those violent, powerful tribes raging parts of
Or that's
Europe.
what they say.
Yeah, or that's...
Maybe if you are a Mongol, then you don't share that point of view.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, the thing is, as we study history...
So we don't really know normally, again, we are talking about an average reader, so we're not talking about you, we're talking about me. As I read it, I know something, I know the word Mongols, so unlike Shu, it's a bit more concrete. It sounds better to me.
Yeah.
On the other
we
hand,
have no idea about Shu, no idea about Kenin, so that gives us a bit of a landscape, a setting.
Yeah. On the other hand, again, Mongols just sounds as something else. So you know they exist. You know they existed in history. You know they did something really important in history, something powerful or something large, depending on. But you don't really know all the details. And again, Mongols, despite being that's something that remains a bit abstract and exotic. The way China used to, maybe in Ezra Khan's time, remain something remote and exotic. Everybody knows something about it, but probably our ideas are nothing but
Well, that's the thing. As we study history at school, we never look at Eastern history, not much. We look at European history. And China and all those places are completely left out. Apart from like opium wars and whenever it gets connected with Britain and
Yeah,
other
so
places.
only in the way it's connected to imperial
It's
policy or
very
something.
Europocentric, the way we study history. So that is a nice shift. Again, it's not unusual. It's a very standard move in some sense for poetry to look at something exotic and to bring it up, to say, you think you know what it's like. You think you know what the world is like. No, you only know your tiny little bit.
Yeah, and again,
You have no idea.
as they write, for example, there's a new Cambridge World History, and as they write it, they try not to concentrate on individual countries because they take the word world history literally.
Right.
So they only need the history of the world. They need the
Do you
history
have
of
history
all
of the
these
world?
connections. So we have the Cambridge history of the world.
Cambridge, history of Cambridge.
Yes. So somehow they want to avoid the trap you mentioned. They not only want to avoid Eurocentrism, they want to avoid writing of history where you have, okay, these were general processes, and then let's look at what was happening in Russia, what was happening in Britain, what was happening in France, what was happening in China. They want to avoid that. Instead, they want to
How
show
can you
the
ever
dynamics.
show it?
Well,
Because you have all
I
those
don't know-
different places
I don't
developing
know-
differently.
I don't know whether they could
Well,
do the
anyway,
trick, but
it's not
still
really
it's
our
interesting.
question today.
Yeah.
So what we have here, now we have Mongols to give us something familiar to hold on to.
Yeah.
Because before that we may feel a bit lost. Why fern shoots? Why shoe? Who's the cannon?
Yeah.
I have no
And
idea.
where
Oh,
are we?
Mongols, phew, at
Where
least
are we?
something.
Where are we?
Where
Because
are we?
here we are. Where?
Where? When?
Now.
We don't know.
Yeah.
When? Where? How? We have no comfort because of these Mongols. So it's repeating the same idea, but a bit more explicit. Have no comfort. We have the cannon. We have no comfort.
Yeah.
We grab the soft fern shoots. When anyone says return, the others are full of sorrow. So we have this strange connection between getting ferns and speaking. Somehow it's connected. You wouldn't think that I don't know, digging potatoes is connected with reciting poetry, for instance, or digging potatoes is connected with breathing, with your breath. But here it is connected. When you touch the fern shoots, you're able to speak, which means the fern shoots really represent themselves. So first we have little first fern shoots, tiny little things, hardly out. Then just a few lines later, we grab the soft fern shoots. So from picking to grubbing like looking clumsily, you know, like little worms looking for food. We grab the soft fern shoots, so now they're grown, but they're still soft. When they're young, they're very soft. It's with age that they get more wooden. We grab the soft fern shoots, again shooting fern shoots. We grab and again grab like look for and grab like clutch. Grab the soft fern shoots. So it represents their way. First a tiny little bit, now they're a bit bigger, they're still soft. When anyone says return, the others are full of sorrow. So what's going on here?
Return to where? Return back to our homeland, to our country, which brings us back to line 2, when shall we go back to our country, or return back to the battlefield.
or
and
maybe
that's why
both.
the others are full of sorrow.
So first we have saying, when shall we get back to our country? It's like maybe they're hopeful. Maybe they expect to hear, next week, tomorrow, in 3 hours. And do they have the answer? No, there's no answer here. So the question still floats in the air, and time is passing, so the plants are growing, it takes time. And there's still no answer. Now they do not bother to ask the full question, because everybody knows it anyway. You can just say, return. And the others are full of sorrow, because return. It is a question and is a suggestion which they cannot take. So why are they full of sorrow? Maybe because they want to do it, but they can't. Everybody wants to get home. But you have your duty, you have your mission. You cannot get back home, so the others are full of sorrow. So sorrow is a word that comes back. Yeah. Full of sorrow. Sorrowful mind. Full of sorrow, sorrowful. You repeat it. You show that they are on their journey, but they're not happy, but still they know they have to do it. The others are full of sorrow. So we have it group of we, then suddenly one appears as a spokesman, and the others are full of sorrow. So it's like talking to yourself. It's not one person talking to another person, it's one big we. It's talking to yourself. So you ask yourself, do I get back home? You know the answer. The others are full of sorrow, sorrowful minds. Sorrow is strong. They are hungry and thirsty. So again, now it's mind. Because if you talk about soldiers, do you immediately think about mind? Do you associate the idea of soldiers with the idea of thinking? Culturally, I guess not really. Maybe it's the generals who do the thinking and the soldiers who do the job. Maybe. But here we show that they are people. They do have minds, Yeah. So as we look at army is a collective idea. Humanity is a collective idea. Society is a collective idea. But inside there you have people. You still have people. Which is again an interesting subject of these organizing, self-organizing systems. How on earth do you have billions of cells working together as your body, not running away apart, staying together, listening to each other, forming organs, bones, muscles? How you have all these organs in your body again working together? And then you have people who are separate people, and still they work together as one unit, as one city, as one country, as one planet, as one universe. It's really fascinating if you stop to think about it. Starting with that really basic level of how on earth do my atoms not run away in every direction? How my atoms stay together, forming what I see as myself. Crazy. So here we have that collective idea of an army. But within that army we have people.
With their
minds, and their minds are full of sorrow. Sorrow is strong. We are hungry and thirsty. So hungry and thirsty is another classical idea. On one hand, it's very literal, because if you're in an army and you have to eat tiny little fern shoots, apparently, to feed yourself, then you're not very happy. If you go far into your foe's land, into your enemy's land, then you will not be happy, because the enemy will make sure you don't have food and drink. That old trick with destroying, destroying water springs. So you will be hungry and thirsty, and it's like physically it's very strong. If you're hungry and thirsty, are you a good warrior?
No.
Maybe you are, but you're not very happy. And maybe you don't think that much about fighting, but about surviving yourself.
Yeah.
Then again, hungry and thirsty might not be only literal. Maybe they're hungry and thirsty for home. Hungry and thirsty for home.
Yeah.
So the sorrow is strong, but it doesn't stop them. They're hungry, they're thirsty, they're sorrowful, but they're still going. They don't say, well, you know, Mr. General, we've sort of changed our minds, we're going to come back. No. Our defense is not yet made sure. No one can let his friend return. So he makes it very clear.
Yeah.
Why?
It's mutual duty.
It's duty. It's duty. It's not because they're forced it, not because they're afraid, but because they know it's what they must do. Something that is bigger than their lives, something that is bigger than their comfort. Our defense is not yet made sure. So here again we return to the idea of an army. We had a foeman, now we have our defense is not yet made sure. No one can let his friend return. No one can let his friend return. So why say it? Not say no one can return, but no one can let his friend return.
It's again us seen as a collective body where it's not somebody's individual ideas anymore. We are all sorrowful, we are all hungry, we are all sad, and still we are all part of a single body. Before our defense is secured, no one can really be allowed to return. I won't allow you, my friend, to return.
So maybe. One thing is we have the word defense.
Well, we can restart it now.
So if you say defense, it means you're not attacking. It's the enemy who's attacking.
You're on the,
you're
on the
defending
defense.
yourself.
Yeah.
Which means you're the good guy.
Or which means you are already retreating.
Okay. Our defense is not yet made sure, so we are under attack. And that is why we keep on going, because we have our land to protect.
Yeah, and because we have no comfort. Because of the Mongols. Again, maybe...
What is comfort?
Yeah,
like
again, what is
a nice
comfort?
bed?
Yeah.
A nice food? Or what sort of comfort? Or peace of mind?
Peace of mind, probably. We can't just let anyone return unless we have secured our defense.
Okay, now, no one can let his friend return, which means they all want to come back. And if you say, I can't go back, I know it's my duty, but if my friend really wants to go back, I want my friend to be happy, I will fight instead of him, I can do it. You go, I stay. No. None can let his friend return. Even for a friend, even friendship, you know it will not be good for that friend to return. It may seem to be an easy way out. No. We grab the old fern stalks. So first they're shooting, now they're stalking. It's brilliant. It's really brilliant how you talk about plants and you use plant words at the same time, these words are about people shooting, now stalking. Yeah, like stalking. We grew up the old fern stalks. So now they were baby ferns, then small ferns, now they're old ferns. So we see that the time is passing, nothing really changes. We have our way to go. Our defense is not yet made sure. No one can let his friend return. We grow up the old fern stalks, and then we keep the pattern. When you touch the ferns, you can speak. Yeah, again, we say. Saying, when anyone says, we say. Now all together. We say, will we be let to go back in October? So why October? Okay, when do ferns start growing? When do plants start growing?
In spring.
In spring. When is October? So time, we see the time passing. Will we be let to go back in October? Now again they're asking. First they said when. Now they say in October specifically. Like, how many more time? How much more? How much longer? How about October? So if the fern stalks are old, it should be maybe August. Maybe August. Will we be let to go back in October? So October, I guess, means before winter, before the really hard time. So if they get home before winter, then maybe they have time to fix their houses or something.
Or before it snows.
Before it snows, before everything is destroyed. And still they have no answer. Will we be let to go back in October, in autumn? And obviously, every time we have those cycles of year, we connect them with the idea of human life, as we said before. So, the first fern shoots when you're born. If you bring it into your poem and you touch it, we are picking, we are grabbing, we are grabbing again. Grab and grab means you're in touch with it, you are it. Baby, when you're soft, you're growing, but your soul is still soft, your heart is soft. Even if you might be in an army, you might be fighting, because life ain't easy. You're fighting for your life, for all this, for that. Maybe it's not a big fight, but you have your challenges. But your heart is still soft. Soft like a fern shoots. Then time is going, your heart grows old. You grab the old fern stalks, you get tired. So first, when shall we get back to our country? Then you stop asking, you just go and you just say, return? No. And then you get tired again, you get tired, you want to go back, you want to have a fixed date. You want to have some kind of certainty in your life. October? I didn't hear you yet? Well, that's because I never answered you. Ah, okay. Interesting. It's really interesting, because in poetry, again and again, human life is compared with cycles of nature, like spring and summer and autumn and winter, a tree growing and dying, things like that. Yeah, like here. So poetry feels that a human being is natural, while science seems Descartes, or the Cartesian science, seems to believe that people are more machines, which is where poetry does not agree. Who has the intuition? who's more intuitive about it.
Well, machines don't have intuition.
Yeah, indeed. So apparently they say that because in science you're mainly using the left side of mind, which likes machines, which likes things made, man-made things, which are easy to understand, which can be taken apart and understood as little parts and then put back and working again, while the right side of mind, which I guess is more poetical, sees things as one whole and likes living things, which are not things at all, but beings. So apparently that's where poetry comes from that gap in between, because you have structure, you have a pattern, you have structure which belongs to the left side, but at the same time you have a general view and have intuition. You're trying to speak the unspeakable, to language the unlanguageable. So here, ferns are very out of place, because it's strange, unusual. Why ferns? But here ferns are people. Ferns are folk. Fern. Why fern? Maybe they do look like people before they unfold, extend like this, the head, maybe. Old fern stalks. We say, will we be let to go back in October? There is no ease in royal affairs, we have no comfort. So we keep repeating the same words. The comfort here, the fern shoots, sorrow. Again, as we repeat them, it's like the mind is going in circles. As they walk and walk, and nothing changes, and the thoughts go in the same way. Keep returning to the same problems, same ideas. We have no comfort, we have no comfort. Sorrow, sorrow. There is no ease in royal affairs, we have no comfort. Now we have royal affairs. First, it was just some Bowmen, Mongols. Then we have defense. So the situation becomes a bit more clear. Now we have royal affairs. So it's a king and the king. It's not just an army, not just a war. It's politics as well. Maybe it's within their own country, not just an external foe, but also something inside. There's no ease in royal affairs. We have no comfort.
Ease of comfort.
No ease.
Are they interconnected?
It's all done through negation, negative ease. So we have no ease, no comfort. We have ease and comfort, but there no. Our sorrow is bitter. So again, repeating the word sorrow, coming back to it. We would not return to our country. Again, the word return returns. And our country. When shall we get back to our country? Return, full of sorrow. The sorrow is bitter. We would not return to our country. So what happens is we use the same words, the same ideas, like a wheel rolling, spinning. We would not return to our country. So first, they want to go back to the country. When shall we get back? Then they realize they can't do it. No one can let his friend return. Now it's the general mood. It's their decision. They might have had some doubts before. Maybe, can I go back home? No, you can't. Now they're not even asking about it. They know they can't return. We would not return to our country, even if we could. Even if we could, we know it's not the right thing to do. What flower has come into blossom? So say, what? We were talking about ferns, so we have flowers. Now they see that it's not just a flower, it's a symbol. Whose chariot? The generals. So the flower is like a symbol of a dynasty, clan, house. The generals. course, if you have an army, you need to have a general. You need someone who will be leading. And that's the general. He appears right in the middle. So, which is kind of strange. We go through the poem without any generals. But now they have their leader and generals. And then, unexpectedly, horses. Why talk about horses? Horses. His horses even are tired. They go strong. We have no rest for battles among. By heaven, his horses are tired. The generals are ruled them, the soldiers are by them. The horses are well trained. The generals have ivory arrows and quivers ornamented with fish skin. So we have that huge bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 lines, one of which is really long, about horses.
Why horses?
Why horses? Why talk about horses? Any ideas? So we started talking about the general, and suddenly, instead of talking about the general, what kind of a person he might be, or situation, instead of talking about our position, instead of I don't know, describing the situation, we talk about horses. Maybe that's to show how big the army is. We have horses.
Maybe that's to connect their fate with our fate. We are tired, we want to go home, or we can't. The horses are also tired. Even horses are tired. Even horses want to go somewhere.
So a horse is stronger than a man, and the horses are tired. So what is a horse? What's a horse? What's a horse? It's someone, something that obeys you, something that is strong, but follows you faithfully. Horses, his horses even are tired. So now we look the same way as we looked at an army and saw people. Now we look at the animals and they see they are alive too. So they care about horses, but at the same time they don't really. When they look at horses, they see themselves. If you make a simile, if you create a metaphor, you compare horses and soldiers, bowmen. It always goes both ways. So if you talk about horses, you say, we are like horses. Horses are like us. We are the same. Horses are like soldiers. They do as they're told. They do it faithfully, even though they are tired. And we are like horses. We're big and strong and obedient. We're also tired. At the same time, his horses even are tired. They were strong. They were strong. They were strong, but not now. So we have the word strong, but it doesn't really work. What is strong? Our sorrow is strong. And now the horses were strong, but not now.
Yeah. And we don't know anything about the general. Maybe he was never strong.
And so, again, we have a plural. They, we, and they. Not one horse. Don't look at the general's one horse. They look at all horses. Again, collectively. They were strong. Yeah. So we have that potential of strength, but it's weakened. They were strong. We have no rest. 3 battles a month. So who are we?
The horses, the soldiers, the
everyone.
bowmen, everyone.
So we now, not just people, but everyone, even horses. 3 battles a month. Is that a lot? Is it not a lot? Considering that a month is probably a lunar month, because well, that's the kind of calendar you use in the East, which is a bit shorter than European month. Like a battle every week, more or less. 3 battles a month. So it's a constant struggle, and still they do not give up. They don't say, oh no, we're a bit tired, we'll just lay down here. No. 3 battles a month. We have no rest, no comfort, no, what was it? No ease, no comfort, no rest, all through negation. By heaven, his horses are tired. Are they talking about horses? So they feel like horses. The horses are tired. So again, we repeat, tired, tired. The horses are well trained. Again, that's kind of a bit funny because the horses are well trained. We are well trained. We are bowmen. You can't just be a bowman. It's a special division. Well trained. The generals have ivory arrows and quivers ornamented with fish skin. So why do we care that the generals have some fancy arrows? Okay, ivory arrows, is it good or bad?
Good.
Good. Or it looks nice and shiny. What about quivers ornamented with fish skin?
Well, fish skin must be shiny, mustn't it?
Well, not really, I believe it gets that. But it's strong,
Okay.
it's good. Yeah. The ornamented ivory arrows. Again, the generals, not one general, but the generals, we have, again, very interesting. Speaking about like bubbles. That's a general's bubble, that's a bowman bubble, that's horsey bubble. And we kind of look at them from aside, from a distance. They have ivory arrows and decorated quivers. Yeah. So are they fighting too? Are the generals fighting?
Well, they must be fighting because they have arrows.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they are good for battle is
Mm-hmm.
an open question.
Or maybe they're just like an ornament. They
Yeah.
don't really go fighting. They're there for looks,
Yeah.
maybe.
And still they
And then that's what the bowmen see when they look at the general, because bows and arrows and quivers, that's their reality. So they don't see what kind of swords they have, they don't see the faces, they don't see anything. They see arrows and quivers, and they see their fancy. But it's kind of good, because you say the horses are well trained, so it's good. The generals have ivory arrows and quivers ornamented with fish skin, so we have our dignity. Maybe we are tired, maybe we are battered, but we are proceeding and we are still proud. The generals are on them, the soldiers are by them, horses. That's what we skip. So again, it's talking about horses and the bowmen themselves. Because the generals are on them, they are commanding. The soldiers are by them, more simple soldiers supporting them as an army. Okay, so again we create that big body of an army. Yeah. Above, around, we make it big. On them, by them, and all in plural. It's big and it's moving with dignity, but where and why and to what end? Who knows? It's been ages. Fish skin. Fish skin. The enemy is swift, we must be careful. So we have that long line and then a short line. So that's the rhythm. The enemy is swift, we must be careful. So even though you may have fancy generals, maybe they're good generals, and maybe you're a big army, but you're tired, you're slow, and the enemy is fresh, it's always fresh, because it's the enemy's territory, the enemy's domain. We must be careful. When we set out, the wheels are drooping with spring, so in case if we didn't guess or to remind us, when we start it's the spring of our life. The wheels are drooping. Again, it's funny because they say drooping, which is not a happy image, drooping. And willows. Oh, what about willows? Why talk about willows?
If you
Is it a happy tree?
Well, not for me, but people might have various ideas. Maybe it's a tree associated with childhood to an average reader who remembers something. Was it The Wind in the Willows or something? Book that is.
But here we just have the willows. We don't
in the
talk
spring.
about things.
In the spring. In the
Willows
spring.
are drooping with spring. So willow is kind of in European tradition, in like British tradition, it's not a very happy tree. Yeah? It's like crying. It's drooping. It's watery. But in Chinese tradition, it's connected with softness, with like a feminine energy, because it's very soft. So they like willows, but still drooping with spring. We come back in snow. So again, we kind of compress this whole story. Spring, snow, all year compressed in what? Few words really. Spring, we come back in the and then snow. So we do come back. But it's snow. What is snow? When your head is white, like snow, your life is ending, like the year is. We come back in the snow. We go slowly. We are hungry and thirsty. So, which is to show that the journey is not an easy one. But we made it, because we come back. That's all that matters. Go slowly. We are hungry and thirsty. So hungry and thirsty returns us to the beginning. Sorrow, sorrow, sorrow. And here again we repeat it. Our mind is full of sorrow. So hungry and thirsty and sorrow from the beginning comes back here. Our mind is full of sorrow. Who will know of our grief? So we don't have any answers here. We have 1, 2, 3 questions. 4 questions, 5 questions, but only whose chariot the generals is answered. The real questions are not answered. Who will know of our grief? Who? You went there, you've done your job, good, now you're back. Why are you still sorry?
If we draw parallels with people's lives and times of the year, then it's already winter. There's snow, our hair is white, we are slow, we are still hungry, we are still thirsty. There's not much life left to live. And then we've led our lives, but they were full of sorrow and sorrows and grief. Who will know of that?
Who will know when? And where? Who will know about it now, or who will know about it
as we
in
100
years?
In 100 years, or who will know of how difficult, how hard it really was, as we are on our death.
No one, just you. No one can know you. No one can know your grief. No one can know your joy. Try as you may. So
Isn't this a sort of
so it's interesting because we end the poem. It's an open end, ending with a question, unanswered. Makes it float. Makes you feel like it's not complete. Makes you remember it, I suppose. It's same in music. If you leave your tune and you don't go to the original sound, to the stable sound, but you leave it somewhere in between, you feel like something's missing. You feel like, no, we need to go home. We need to get back to that sound, to the bass.
Yeah.
You never do. You never hear it. So it's open. The question is still open. At the same time, some people may tell you that who will know of our grief is not a question, it's a statement. They will tell you that who is not a question word but a name. Who will know of our grief? It's not Chinese tradition. But still, so I suppose looking at it, because even though the setting is sort of exotic and Chinese, but the readers who read it, the poet who wrote it, they still belong to European culture. Yeah. So we still can read it in terms of European culture, which is mainly Christian, or used to be. So in that sense, how do we read it? What's the message? So we have our original country. We come to our foemen, to a stranger's land, where we are constantly under attack. But we cannot and we will not go back before time, because, bad idea. What would it mean to go back there before time? To kill yourself. And you're really not supposed to do it. Yeah, so no one can let his friend return. You need, you must, you have to, you're bound to, you ought to go through it. And then your whole life is this journey. And from his point of view, how he paints it, how he writes it, it's like being a part of an army which goes no one knows where. And has to fight or why? Well, why? Defend our defenses is not made sure. So as long as you breathe, you have those constant temptations, let's say, constant challenges every second of your life. So you are like a warrior.
Why?
And you go for it.
Why?
Because how else? If you don't face your challenges.
Yeah. I mean, what for?
What for? Defenses. Your defense is here. Now, you tell me.
I mean,
Okay, maybe you should do it as your homework then. Because otherwise there's no meaning in life.
no. Is there a meaning?
What is meaning?
Is there?
Is there?
Or isn't there?
Well, within the poem there is.
Well,
But he's like, oh no, we're so bored, we're so unhappy. But still, despite that misery,
yeah, we've
they still
lived
make
through
it
it.
through. They
We've
still
made
make
it.
it. They keep kind of wailing, but indeed they continue their walk. And they come back victorious. even if tired. Interesting, we go slowly, we're hungry and thirsty. So, to your last breath even, you're still hungry and thirsty, because you will always be hungry and thirsty for your home until you actually get back. And then who will know of our grief? And it's not a question, it's a statement. Because who is a name. And who will know about it? Then again, they talk about mind. They don't talk about like heart. A mind is full of sorrow. A mind is calculating. Mind is egocentric. Here, at least. Yeah. Oh no, I'm so unhappy. I have to go to that horrible place. I have to fight all the time. It's so horrible. It's so horrible. But something bigger than the mind that is sorrowful and just wants to have some rest. There's something bigger that says we would not return to our country. Maybe that's the sense of Jude, say. Maybe.
And then they end up there. They end up there. Only many, many, many years later.
Yeah.
No, we will not return. But then we return. Many years later.
We would not return to our country.
After lots of...
But we would not return to our country before its time. Because then you would have no comfort there either.
A happy world. No comfort anywhere.
Yay, hooray! No comfort. Well, anything else to say here? No?